Okay, let's set up your Quest. A couple things you definitely need before you do this. You have to be somewhere with Wi-Fi, and you need to know your Wi-Fi name and password. And you should also know your Facebook login, your username and password for Facebook. So those are the two things you need. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead and unbox your Oculus. I've already done that. If you haven't, just pause the video and unbox it. So you have your headset, you have two controllers, you have your charger and charging cable, and inside this little box there is also a spacer for if you wear glasses, and there's also another little box in the box, and that's where you find the batteries and a instruction and quick start guide. So once you have all of that, you want to put the batteries in the controller. Oh, and I guess I should say, you'll see in the headset there's a little piece of paper you take out, and it has the 2 steps on it that you need to do to set up your headset. So if you're adventurous and you want to try it on your own, step 1 is put in batteries, step 2 is turn on the headset. But if you want to learn a little more about it, let me give you some tips. So throw that away, and there's also 2 little protective films over top of these lenses you want to peel off. So to put the batteries in the controllers, you'll see the controllers marked L and right for left and right. And these are sort of magnetically sealed. They open pretty easily once you figure it out, but you just kind of slide it, and the battery goes, the negative side goes in here, and the battery compartment just clips right back on there. Negative side goes into it there, and they just clip back together. So that's all there is to putting the batteries in here. Now before you do anything else, I want to just show you a little bit about the headset. There are 3 adjustment points to make it fit your head better. They're all Velcro. You got 2 of them right here on each side, and then 1 on the top. And it's basically easiest when you put it on, just sort of loosen them and then, you know, adjust them as you're wearing it. You don't have to make this thing you don't want it super tight, but you want it tight enough that it doesn't slide up and down. On this side is the port for the charger, and out of the box, these should be charged enough to do the setup. Here is the power button. On the underneath, here's a slider that will adjust the focus. So if you put this on and it's super blurry, that's the first adjustment you should make. You know, move that until it's clear. And this is a volume control. And it's also important for clarity to get this thing centered in the best position for your eyes. So if you're wearing it and it's slid down too low on your nose, it will be blurry. If it's up too high, it will be blurry. And when you go through the setup, it'll help you adjust that. It's a combination of, you know, moving these straps and adjusting this slider. So now that you understand that, I want to talk to you a little bit about how these controllers work before you put this on. You can see they're labeled R and L, and this circular part faces up. Don't hold them like this. You want the circular part facing up. There's several buttons. The only button you need to worry about right now is this trigger button. So what this is going to do when you have this on, it's going to project sort of like a laser pointer. It'll be a white dot that wherever you point this thing is going to show up in your virtual environment. So some of the first things you have to do is make a selection of what language you want. You need to put in the Wi-Fi and everything. So what you're going to do is point this at the language you want to select and then pull the trigger. So when you begin setup of this, that's the first thing that happens. You got to select your language. The second thing, you got to log into your Wi-Fi. So it will display a virtual keyboard. And again, you're going to use your controller to point at the letter you want to type. If your Wi-Fi name is Wi-Fi, you would point at the W, pull the trigger, the I, the F, the I, and so on and so forth. And you'll see an enter button, which is actually just the enter symbol. So you want to, once you've got that Wi-Fi in, you want to press enter. So I'm going to go over this, and don't put your headset on yet. When you first put it on, you're going to hold the power button for 2 seconds, and then it'll boot up. After it boots up, you're going to select your language. You're going to log into your Wi-Fi, and you're going to log in to your Facebook. And it's going to walk you through all of that. I'm just sort of giving you an overview so you know what's going to happen. If you don't have a Facebook, I think it asks you to put in a mobile phone number. And then after that, the headset's probably going to update. And once it starts updating, it might take 10 minutes. You can take it off. And it's going to tell you everything that I'm telling you. I'm just sort of summarizing this. And the other thing it might mention, and in fact, I think it will mention somewhere, is downloading an Oculus app for your phone. I didn't see where that was necessary at all for any of the setup. So you can do it if you want, but I don't think it's required. It didn't seem like it was. What I did while it was updating, I plugged it in just to be sure. So there's only one place that this plug will fit. So you want to put that in your headset and then obviously plug the other end into the wall. But I let mine charge while it was updating just as a precaution. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and put your headset on, hold this power button in for 2 seconds, and go through that initial setup. And I'll see you when you're done with that. Okay, so now that you've got it initially set up, hopefully without any problems, and the update is finished, now what it's going to do when you put it back on after that update's finished, it's going to give you a further in-depth tutorial about using the controllers, about using your hand gestures, about adjusting this for the best focused picture. So I just want to give you a couple tips that I found a little confusing. I think it starts off with showing you how to use your hand gestures. And I had a little trouble with the methodology. So what I didn't grasp is when you're using your hands, you're still moving around a dot or a little circle. And I was just trying to grab things on the keyboard. But what you want to do with your hands is you move that dot just like you would with the controller. You move the dot over top what you want to select. And to select it, you just touch your thumb and your index finger. So it's going to have you practice that. And I had a little trouble. And that was why. I didn't realize I was still moving a dot. So look for that little dot and get it over top of what you want to select, and then pinch your fingers together. So it's going to take you through all that. What else does it do? Oh, at some point it's going to have you define what they call guardian space. So in the room you're in, it's going to have you take your controller and draw a big circle around what they call your play area. And it is mainly for games, but I think you still have to set it up. A tip for that I found is if you can't get that, if the grid is off the floor too high, try crouching down, and that'll make the grid sink a little bit. So if you have trouble with that, try that tip of crouching down. And, you know, make your play area as big as you can make it. You're probably not going to use it initially, but I think you have to set it up. So go ahead with the second part of the tutorial. Like I say, right after the update, you'll just put this on and dive right back into all those things I just talked about. So once that's done, you're set up, and fool around with it a little bit. In my next video, I'm going to show you exactly the way you need to go about looking at the yearling videos. So that next video, it's going to take place all inside this virtual environment. So get your Quest set up, have a little fun with it, and check back for how to watch the yearling videos.